Reuters, employers unexpectedly cut jobs in December. U.S. employers unexpectedly cut 85,000 jobs in December, cooling optimism on the labor market's recovery and keeping pressure on Obama to find ways to spur job growth. Good Lord, do you people not understand in the media that Obama is responsible for all of these job losses? There is no stimulus. Stimulus is not possible. Government stimulus mathematically, economically is not possible. You can't stimulate an economy by taking 50 million out of it and then putting the 50 million back in. You can't stimulate an economy by borrowing 50 million and then throwing it into the private sector. You just can't, because it's all coming from the private sector. The private sector's being depleted on purpose. Unexpectedly cut jobs? The economy continues to take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. I wouldn't read too much into it beyond the fact that this will be a slow employment recovery. Directionally, the economy's on a mend, said David Katz, the chief investment officer at Matrix Asset Advisors in New York. Here's even worse news. The report showed that there were 929,000 discouraged workers who have given up looking for a job. That's up from 642,000 a year before. Chris Rupke, an economist with Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi, called the rise in discouraged workers a simply astonishing number that borders on the frightening. If they were still looking for work and counted as the unemployment rate would have been 10.5%. This clearly is not your father's recession. It's looking more like your great-grandfather's. Brother, can you spare a dime? So the way to calculate the people who've given up is as unemployed. Once you quit looking, they don't count you as unemployed. Unemployment rate would be 10.5%. Now, this leads me to a couple other things here. State tax collections have seen the 3rd consecutive double-digit drop in the 3rd quarter of 2009. The 3rd consecutive double-digit drop in tax collections. Now, for those of you who think that there might be job growth on the horizon, be sure to factor in the coming layoffs in state, county, and city jobs. Now, the only reason those layoffs haven't happened is Obama's slush fund, which he calls the stimulus package. Because thanks to Obama's stimulus bill, his slush fund, the states have not had to suffer mass layoffs needed to put their budgets in balance with true revenues not supplemented by payoffs from slush funds. So states all over the country are grappling with huge deficits, thanks in part to a 10% unemployment rate, or 10.5 or 17. In some of these states, it's even higher than that. The tax base has been decimated. This next year, look for higher levels of job cuts in state, county, and city jobs. You can see with tax collections now falling for the 3rd consecutive quarter, double dip. When they run through this stimulus money that they got, you didn't get it. The states did to shore up their deficits and to shore up state employment. When they run through that, and they're going to run through it like a knife through butter, hot knife through butter, then they're going to have no choice but to start laying off people. And the unions are going to howl, and it's going to be a big, big mess. Cities all over the country don't have enough money in their budgets to clear snow from the streets. And when the snow's not cleared, people can't get to work, much less the store. Vital city service can't be provided in some places now. This has been caused thanks to the failed economic policies of the buck stops here, President Obama. The buck ought to stop with the private sector, but it doesn't. Obama has made it his private sector, and he has failed, as has every other central planner who's tried to micromanage a giant economy or any kind of small economy. Now, the reason Obama fails is because he embraces failed policies, failed political philosophies, knowingly. He took responsibility for job creation when tax cuts for the private sector were in order. And then there was this upside-down comment about who was responsible for keeping the country safe. The incident, like several that have preceded it, demonstrates that an alert and courageous citizenry are far more resilient than an isolated extremist. That was Obama, December 28, 2009. When it comes to national security, the buck stops with the president. When it comes to job creation, the buck stops with an alert and courageous citizenry who are far more resilient than an isolated central planner is, who really doesn't care. He's now almost a single payer in the student loan program. So this is there's no improvement month to month in the employment picture. It is worsening. It's going to worsen even further with state and city and county layoffs that are sure to come at some point in this new year. And then there's going to be inflation with all this printing and borrowing of money. So, and they're talking about a double dip in the housing market now, or the commercial real estate. Folks, I don't mean to be a downer here. What's frustrating is that once again, this government's governing against its own citizens. This president and his party are governing against us. We are at war with our own president. We are at war with our own government. They are the ones standing in the way of the private sector rebounding. They're the ones standing in the way of job creation purposely. And it's just frustrating, and it's something that I think people have to know in all this talk about. They're not talking about a second stimulus. Christine Romer's, oh, yeah. We're starting to see some positives. Maybe time for second stimulus. That would be disaster. Utter disaster. Besides, they've only spent, at last I saw, they've only spent 30% of this stimulus because it's a slush fund, and the majority of it was reserved for being spent in this year, which happens to be a re-election year, and that's what matters to the Democrats and to Obama. Quick timeout. We'll be back. Lots more, plus your phone calls on Open Line Friday right after this.